yeah, I guess we'll get started. So how important is it for you to be independent from a record company? Because I can see that on your website it talks about how, yeah, you're not tied to any kind of company,
Mhm.
it's independent, and like, does that reinforce the message behind your music? Yeah.
Yeah, it does. It's really important to me. It is important to me because I like to have control over every part um, of my output, over every aspect of my output, because I'm involved with every part of my career, from like all the creative things that you see, like the visual side, or my artwork, styling, everything like that, to how I want to release my art. Um, and that way I can make sure my message is in everything that I do. For example, like where I was talking about artwork, my deluxe vinyl has a scratch off top, so you can like scratch off your own message or
Oh, that's
anything you
so cool.
like, because I am inviting people to kind of shed their outer layers of personality.
Oh, I love.
And I also released a song plus an episode every month. So that's not the most, how do I say it, the most financially rewarding way of doing things. So I guess a big record label wouldn't have allowed me to do this probably.
Yeah.
But it is the way that I wanted to release it, because I'm inviting people on an emotional journey, and kind of like to themselves, and reflecting takes time. So I wanted like a month for every song that is also like a topic.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
so because of that, it definitely reinforces the message in my music, and also it's a personal choice. Quite frankly, I don't want white old men to decide over me personally, and
Yeah.
also over my career. So I would rather do it myself.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's good because, like you said, with the money side, a lot of companies may want you to do what's going to get you more money or get you more views, but like that can make the art less kind of personal and like pure. So yeah, that's really great. I love it. So you obviously have a bit of an attachment to visual art because you had the Netflix show and now your visual album. Like, what inspires the visual elements of your work, and how does like your music get elevated? The message behind your music kind of becomes more deep and elevated alongside the visual elements.
Um, I wouldn't necessarily say that like the music develops a deeper meaning, because
Okay.
it's kind of more like a standalone piece of art for me. But as an artist, I'm like just not just a singer. So
Okay.
I like to convey my message in different yeah in different outlets. I would say I like to have different outlets to express what I want to say.
Yeah.
And in RAVAGE, for example, the visual component wasn't created to the music, so you
Okay.
don't have like, we didn't create the movie listening to the music and like finding visuals to the music. I took kind of the underlying message of the album and like all the themes and topics, and then I expressed them in different art forms,
Okay.
like such as dance in the movie, also in the story of the heroine, express the themes in there, and also the costumes and the makeup. And so um, I feel more like a communicator, I would say,
Yeah.
of emotions, and I like different ways of communicating, or more like I like wait, I'm missing a word because I'm not a native speaker. Let me
That's
think.
okay.
Exploring. Yeah, I
Oh
love
yeah, I see.
exploring different ways to communicate. So the next project might be like completely different.
Yeah.
Um, but all of the different parts of the art, so like the album and the visual side, they're all kind of like standalone pieces of art, and then they go together.
Yeah, so it's cool that they can stand on their own and be like
Hmm.
their own art form, but then they can also work together as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think it's really interesting that you have the visual album as well. Like, not I've not really seen a lot of artists do that, but yeah, I definitely think that's really interesting. I really enjoyed watching it. Um,
Thank you.
so Yeah, I found the themes of toxic masculinity really interesting because I think that's just quite a present part of our society, and like I think that governs a lot of male actions that we maybe don't think about. But can you talk a bit about how you represented that in the album, the visual album?
So I was also involved in kind of the casting. So the cast, there are all people that I know, like from my close friends, really. Um, so I was also involved with directing, not on set because I was too busy with other things, but in like leading to the shoot of the movie. I had lots of time to develop together with the cast, and we spend a lot of time to talk about topics like toxic masculinity in the male characters, and kind of about how we can like put it on the screen. But even though like RAVAGE is kind of an abstract project, so it has to be kind of metaphorical, and we decided to involve it in the main character Melancholy, because when we meet him, he suppresses his emotions, and you can see how that leads kind of to severe depression and also to aggressive behavior towards himself and towards people around him. And then later on in the story, he learns to be brave enough to make himself vulnerable and kind of address and face his emotions, and that way he can overcome his struggles. So yeah, I think that's the way we mostly showed it.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. Yeah, definitely. I think we'd all benefit from just being more open and like feeling like safe to talk about our emotions so then we can like process them and move on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so in terms of like how important is it that for society to understand how like a lot of social issues are kind of intertwined with a more sustainable world, just like sustainable in terms of like people's happiness, sustainable in terms of people like feeling content, and like also sustainability as well. Like how do you think society can kind of change the way that we tackle climate change by understanding like that everything's connected?
Hmm. That's a good question. Um, I mean, there's the kind of like self-love a part of your question, where I just think like we have to realize that how we treat like the people around us and nature around us ultimately like reflects on how we treat ourselves, and
Yeah.
that it just feels a lot better to be good to the planet.
Yeah.
Just also for your soul. That's kind of like one part of your question, and the other part is um, kind of maybe even political, because like climate change and climate justice is a gender issue also, and it's really important to kind of tackle these topics together, because it's just really unfair that women and girls all over the planet suffer so much more from just from the consequences of climate change. The numbers are
Yeah.
really crazy, and I don't think like a lot of people realize that these numbers are so crazy. Like for example, up to 80% of the people who flee every year from natural catastrophes are women and girls. And then on top of that, they are much more vulnerable to violence on the way. And there's like so many parts that make it harder for them. They have less access to cars, for example, and then like sanitary situations in the camps are like harder for them. And you know, like I said, like the vulnerability to violence and also sexual violence, and it's just a lot crazy for them. But um, I think what's most important is that 80% of our food, like from all over the world, gets produced by women, but they only own 20% of the land. And I
Oh, wow.
really deeply believe that if we would change this fact, climate change would also change, because climate change would change, but like would be
Yeah.
bettered, because I'm quite sure like they would change that, because it
Mm.
climate change takes away their resources and like their whole uh, livelihood.
Yeah, I
So
understand.
I feel like if we would tackle these societal questions, it would definitely like benefit our Earth as well. And
Yeah,
people just don't know. It's just like really unfair. When the tsunami hit, for example, more than 70% of the people who died were women also, because a lot of them couldn't swim. And so it's just really, yeah, it really should be a feminist issue as well.
yeah, I didn't even, a lot of the figures that you just shared, I didn't know that. And it's really interesting because a lot of the time people say like ecofeminism, but when you actually hear the statistics, it's really, really
Yeah,
surprising. Like the way that women don't have access to cars, or like they can't swim, it all goes back to like, you know, like women being not encouraged to drive, and like women not being viewed as like needing swimming lessons as much as men. And it's just like
yeah,
so deep rooted, it's so difficult to dismantle it, but it definitely should be. I really
yeah,
think the way that you're challenging that is like amazing, and like it's really nice to see an artist speaking out about these things, because like they're so important, and like you've got a platform that you can use to educate people. So yeah. um so sorry, I'm just reading the questions.
no
What was,
worries.
did you release an earth friendly collection alongside Ravage? Maybe you could talk about
Um, yeah, that's just like also what I said, like the one way to express myself. Um, eh, I switched my whole wardrobe to just like sustainable clothes 5 years ago. And back then it wasn't as trendy, so there weren't as many brands.
that. Hmm.
They were like really cool brands, but only a few. So I had to kind of look like worldwide for brands to find clothes. And yeah, it's just important to me also to use that part of my platform, because I do have red carpet events. I do have social media, so I have photo shoots. So I'm also always wearing clothes, and I love fashion. And it was important to me to show that you can be fashionable and
Hmm.
have fun with fashion, but still don't hurt our planet.
Yeah.
Yeah, so um, one way of doing that was creating my own clothing line. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. I also intertwined it with a project. I had like an outfit for every main character, because every main character in the movie is an emotion. So I
Okay.
created an outfit for each emotion. So there was an outfit that was called insecurity, or an outfit that was called melancholy, and it wasn't like an insecure outfit, but was something that I would choose to wear on an insecure day that would make me feel
Yeah,
more powerful,
I
because I
see.
feel like fashion can do that, and like
Hmm.
expressing yourself with your clothes can really help create your personality and like,
Yeah.
you know, love yourself also. And it might sound like superficial. Of course, you can also be happy like naked or in a jeans.
Mhm. Yeah.
But like for a lot of people, expressing themselves in their clothes is really important
Yeah.
for their mental health and personality. So I tried to kind of dive into that my personality has like all these different facets, and I have all these different emotions, and I don't want to be just one person. I want to
Hmm.
be allowed to be all these different Moglis.
Yeah, I love it. I love how everything you've done is like intertwined, but also its own thing as well. Like, I think it's like a misconception when sustainable fashion people think it's like boring, or it's like restrictive. You can only buy from certain places. So it's like good that you're making it more accessible, and also showing how it can be like really fun and
Also, it
really
wasn't that expensive, because a lot of people
okay.
always say that it is super expensive to buy sustainable. And I know it can be, but like that's why I also try to make it more accessible for more people.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, definitely the price element, people, I feel like that can sometimes be used as an excuse, because I do think there are a lot of affordable, sustainable options. But
Yeah, and the most
yeah.
sustainable is to wear secondhand, and that doesn't have to
Mm.
be pricey at all.
Yeah, definitely. Um, I've been buying secondhand stuff only for like almost 3 years now, and I really don't spend a lot on my
With
clothes, and I
growth.
also think you find way more like fun, unique things when you buy secondhand. But yeah, I was also going to say about what you were saying about how you don't want to just be one emotion, like
Hmm.
one person. I think it's good that you're kind of normalizing like the complexity of emotions, and like it's okay, you're not sort of defined by your mental health issues or like how you feel. It's really important to like embrace those and like come back stronger, and I feel like the work that you've got really shows that. So yeah, love it. um which is your favorite episode of the visual album Ravage, and why?
I don't really have a favorite episode, I would say,
Yeah.
because even though I'm releasing it in episodes, it is like a 60-minute movie in total, and I feel like it holds the most power if you watch it like as a movie.
Hmm.
So I'm gonna release it as a movie on the day that I'm releasing the album on
Okay.
May 12th. Um, but I do have like every kind of every episode has something that I really love about it. So
Hmm.
one of my favorite moments, I would say, in the movie is Ghost, because um, it is very touching to see how the heroine just explores and experiences nature for the first time, and she has never seen it before, and how it touches her. And then also later in the episode, facing her depression. I think that's one of my favorite moments.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess it's hard to find a favorite episode because like you've created it as a whole thing rather than like episode 1, episode 2. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's interesting to hear like your favorite bits of it. So like how's coronavirus changed your journey as an artist and like your perception of life? Because I think it's made everyone just realize like, we're a lot more temporary than we may have thought. We felt like we were indestructible, or like that it was just we were always going to be able to like live our lives the way we want. But yeah, how has COVID changed your perceptions?
Mm, well, I was kind of lucky because my creativity works in phases, and COVID hit when I was in the creation phase. So I didn't have to like cancel any tours or something because I wasn't planning to tour in that time frame. So that was really lucky, because I could just like personally for me, it was great to have time and space to create more. But like on a more creative level, or like as an artist, it kind of it deepened what I felt before already. It kind of made my urge to be a bridge between bubbles even bigger,
Mm-hmm.
because even before it, I mean that's why I created Ravage, and the start of the creation was before COVID, and then COVID hit, and I was like, yeah, that's why I'm doing it, because everyone is in their little bubble, and it's very hard to reach people when they're in a different bubble. But artists have the means to reach people comprehensively, because they like everyone consumes art all over the world. I have uh, people with very different political views and like very different demographics than myself. Follow me and listen to my music. So I feel like it is, um, yeah, it is kind of my task to use that and to use my platform to spread messages to people who wouldn't hear them. You know,
Yeah.
some, I don't know, like a redneck in Texas who listens to my music maybe hears about the feminist issue for the first time
Yeah.
because my music is about it. And so COVID made all of these things even worse, because it meant more time at home, more time alone. So it meant more screen time, and more screen time is what's, that's where we're getting divided. So it just, COVID kind of reinforced my urge to try to be a bridge between all of these different bubbles, and also to really spread my message, and to put my message into everything that I do.
Oh yeah, no, I love that. And like art is such a powerful way of educating people and like spreading awareness, and I feel like COVID gave everyone a chance to like sort of step back and like reevaluate their values and like what they're consuming online. And yeah, so yeah, it's really interesting to hear all your insight. I don't know if there's anything else that you wanted to say or like talk about, but those are all of the questions that I had for
No, I
you.
think it's great. They were like really complex questions. I love that.
Oh,
I
thank
really,
you.
I really, I really like the questions because like lots of times it's very superficial.
Okay.
So I really love talking to you. Thank
Oh,
you.
oh, that's really nice. Thank you. I'm happy to hear that.